Hi, I'm John Timmerman, and this is 60 Minutes.
I'm Rob Schauger, and where we're going, we don't need roads.
And I'm Al Kutri, and my new haircut makes me look like Jamie Lee Curtis.
And we are the co-founders of the No Bull Company.
Hey everybody, today's episode is brought to you by Lawn and Order, Special Hedgings Unit. Go to their website for all the details, www.noone'sabovethelawns.com.
What's up, Buzz Nation? Welcome to I'm a Little Buzzed, the show where we bring a ridiculous amount of life to business, all while sharing a glass of whatever makes you happy and talking about what gets us buzzed.
Yeah.
What gets you guys buzzed today?
What gets me buzzed is my painters came today and they're painting the kitchen and they're painting the porch floor.
Boom.
Boom.
You?
Okay, throwing it right back at me. What gets me buzzed is weekends at camp. Every freaking weekend, no matter what. No matter what. We just got internet up there. It's very slow, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Very slow.
Well, because you're in the middle of nowhere.
1 gig up, which is basically nothing.
Yeah.
You can't upload anything ever.
Yeah.
And then 12 down? I don't know. It's basically enough to chat.
5G. Didn't you say there's something 5G up there?
Not till next year.
Oh.
Got all excited because T-Mobile said we're getting a tower. Look, I heard, chatter in town.
In 2021.
And they were supposed to get it in May. Scheduled to get it in May. They looked it up. I called the service tech. Was like, oh yeah, it should be up there right now. I'm like, well, it's not.
It's not.
And looked it up. Then we called the the location engineer, whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked it up. He's like, I got him on the phone, and he's talking through, and he goes, oh, actually, we were supposed to get it May 2020. He's like, yep, 5/2020. I was like, it's not there. He goes, okay, hold on. Okay, yep, actually postponed due to COVID. January or Q1 2021.
Oh.
So we have internet to get us by.
1
Enough
gig
to spend a
upload.
day up there during the week, usually Fridays.
Extra, yeah.
But then coming back. So pretty pumped about that, though.
Cool.
Yeah. You?
I had some great meetings last week. I met with a guy on Friday. We'll just call him Bob, because Bob's his first name, but I'll save his last name. This guy has started 155 businesses in his life.
That could be either really good or really bad.
He's super successful. He's done really well.
Like me.
He's built a great team of people that, depending on the project, he brings in the right people. And
are they all successful? Or are they all still going?
No, not all of them. I think he gave me the success rate, and it was north of 65%.
Oh.
And he's started a business on every continent, I think, except for Antarctica.
Yeah.
Super cool conversation, mellow guy, laid back. Was privileged to get an hour of his time last week.
I have been watching
Sounds good.
entirely way too much Ozark because in my instant thought I'm like, is he cleaning money? Is he laundering money?
First thought.
Have you finished Ozark yet?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you did?
I crushed it.
It's great.
But now all I think about is money laundering.
Like, you're going to get into it, you mean? Think of it? Or
I'm
is
thinking
everybody
about
else
it.
A
doing
new business idea.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
156
That's good.
business for me. Get a laundromat, scrub that money right up.
That's right. Make sure you throw it in with the clean with the dirty. And
This is a
I
strategy.
mean, Jason Bateman basically laid it out for everybody. Like, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Throw the
He
coins
did.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slap some chains on it.
I'm such a terrible liar, though. I am like, if the government even came and poked a little and they were like, are you laundering money? Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, exactly what I'm doing.
Last
Yes.
week I did about 20 million, and it's over there behind that piece of wood.
It's
Here.
in there. Yeah.
I did it.
Kidding.
Now
Oh,
I'd
Sam.
like to talk to my Hollywood attorney who's going to
Yeah.
turn this into a movie.
Exactly. Always wanted to be a
There
celebrity.
is your
it is.
pipeline to
Full
celebrity.
circle,
There was a
baby.
method to the madness.
Celebrity
Yeah.
rocket ship.
I don't care.
No.
No, there you
Sweet.
have it.
And
Ready?
there it is. Yeah.
What's up, Buzz Nation? Are you a fan of Gary Vaynerchuk? How about AJ Vaynerchuk? How about David Meltzer? Well, you can see them all for free. April 8th, 2021 at our Noble 2020 conference, Noble 2020 2.0 that is. That's a free $250 ticket. All you have to do is head to empathywines.com, buy any 12 bottles of delicious empathy wine, use the code NOBLE2020 at checkout, and you will get a free $250 front section seat. That's right, free. Just like a bird in the sky, a cheetah in the Serengeti, but not like Al in small spaces. Just head to noble2020.com for more details. Today's show, we have the buzzworthy, amazing human being, Arel Moodie. Arel is a best-selling author, entrepreneur, coach, and professional speaker. His mission is to help people from all walks of life better connect to themselves, to others, and realize there's more to life than just meets the eye. Arel's work is rooted in studying how humans think to understand, to create within themselves positive change. Buzz Nation, please welcome Arel Moodie. What's up, Arel?
What? Thanks for having me, y'all. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, listen, before we get into the really core part of the show, we're going to turn this over to Al, who has our special segment.
Yes.
The pregame.
Pregame. Little free association here. No thinking, no filter, just go.
Let her rip.
Sounds good.
Giants or Jets?
Oh, Giants.
Favorite candy?
Gummy bears, vegan.
Yes. First thing you do when you wake up?
Thank God that I'm alive.
Amen. Favorite beverage?
Water or whiskey?
Oof. How do you take your eggs?
Scrambled.
Fill in the blank. 2020 is?
Very interesting.
Ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup.
Last purchase you made?
Wine.
Yeah, right?
All right. Perfect.
Greatest
For the show.
Greatest advice you've ever received?
Be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Worst advice you've ever received?
Fake it until you make it.
Ugh, that is garbage advice. You're right. LeBron or Jordan?
LeBron.
Done.
Favorite whiskey?
Favorite whiskey? Right now, I'm at Albalor as number one.
Ooh. Okay.
Scotch, 12-year, double cask, pretty good.
Love it.
I'm also a big fan. I was debating if I should bring out, there's something called Lefroy. They have something called Lore, which is just amazing.
Okay.
It's like a limited release. I really, really like it. And then I'm really liking Oban 14 right now as well.
Are you
Nice.
more on the Scotch side, more on the whiskey, bourbon
That's a
side?
great question. That's a great
Where do you
question.
bounce?
I thought I was a peaty Scotch guy for a very, very long time. Then I started getting into some bourbons. Like I had Eagle Rare, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
So I'm swinging more towards, I think, the bourbons, less, not so aged, more new. But Scotch, I haven't met one I haven't liked yet.
Fit right in, right?
Awesome.
I feel so unsophisticated in that realm. Like the other night I was like, I think I'm gonna have a classy drink. And I whipped out
Wild Turkey 101.
Wild You got it. No, not 101. Wild Turkey American Honey. And I was like, wow, you are a class act. You're like, I was like, oh, look at, this is what whiskey should taste like.
Yeah.
You know what? The one thing that I've discovered from my whiskey obsession is it is all over the board, man. Like some people will drink something and think it's total trash, and other people think it's the greatest thing on the planet. So if you like some, $4 gallon of whiskey that they sell somewhere, put a little water in it and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. There you have
Ice.
it.
It'll smooth the flavor
once
right
the
out.
ice watered it down, it was really good.
Absolutely.
There you go. Well, listen, we've all been already drinking apparently. So, but we'll still cheers to it. Now is the time when we cheers to our guest and something ridiculous. So, cheers to you, Arel, to life, love, lots of laughter, and the ongoing question of why there are holes in Swiss cheese. Nobody knows.
Nobody.
Nobody
Nope,
freaking knows.
not even Google.
Cheers.
Nope.
Did you ask the Swiss people?
We have not.
They were busy.
All right, Swiss people watching this or listening to this, Twitter,
Let us know.
LinkedIn, let us know why is there holes in your
It
cheese.
has something to do with gases.
Gas bubbles.
Gas bubbles?
Gas bubbles.
So Arel actually knows.
Arel just went with it. He's like, yeah, sure, nobody knows.
These guys.
Never mind.
I'm
I'm saying that.
Such
One of the secrets to life is if you say something with a lot of confidence, even if it's totally wrong, there's a large percentage of people who will believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Let him to learn that skill.
I know.
All right. Well, we want to get into some deep questions about life and business and balancing the two. But before we do that, Arel, can you give us the, however long you want to take, 120 seconds. Tell us what you're up to today. What is your business? What is your experience in business? And what are you putting out into the world these days?
Yeah, so, for the last 14 years, I've been doing professional speaking. I got introduced to entrepreneurship when I was in college and got really big into it, started a company to help students find housing roommates and sublets, and then built that for a couple of years, exited from that and started touring around the country, teaching young people entrepreneurship. It was like, this was back in the day before entrepreneurship was like legit career field. This was like 2009, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
So we were just trying to like spread the gospel of young entrepreneurship. And we did a pretty good job. And, I feel like entrepreneurs are legit now. For the longest time, it wasn't. So then after finishing that, I started just going to inner city schools, people who grew up in environments like me and trying to share with them what's possible for their lives. So I was doing speaking. I loved it. And then as things progressed, just naturally, as I got older, my message started maturing. So I was still doing that work, but started doing more in businesses around the idea of likability. So how do you build skill sets to connect with people and use likability as a tool? Now, I'm very fortunate that I still get to do speaking. I still get to do a lot of speaking to businesses and still to colleges too. But about 5 years ago, I started an online course. And it was something that I was doing just because everywhere I'd go, people would ask me, how do you become a speaker? I want to be a speaker. How do you become a speaker? I want to be a speaker. So I was like, all right, let me just create this online course and teach people. And if they really want it, they can get that. But the course did really well. We probably, we can talk some numbers, right? Like it does 6 figures in sales in addition to the speaking. So when COVID hit, all the speaking engagements got canceled. And it was kind of like, oh man, like for a lot of my colleagues, they didn't know what to do. But luckily for me, for the last couple of years, I've been doing the online course world. So when COVID hit, I kind of just accelerated one of the plans I had, which was to teach people how do you create online courses? How do you take the content you already have, package it, so whether you're traveling or not traveling, you can still make a difference. So right now, doing the speaking, doing the online courses, and I have it's actually interesting. I love the fact that we're doing this podcast. So I had a podcast called The Art of Likability for 4 years, and I kind of put it on the back burner. It was doing really well, but I kind of started moving away from it. But I'm relaunching the podcast under a new brand. So lots of fun, digital space stuff, but just trying to impact people and make a difference and find the best way to do it with whatever the world gives you.
Was that actually that last couple of words you kind of answered my next question was, I was going to say, is that a natural progression that sort of just happened? You noticed using the internet to, positively impact more people was a better way to do it. And you said you still do the speaking, things like that, but did you get into the online marketing space on purpose because you're like, man, I can do this? Or did it just happen organically, really just people asking you and you were like, okay, I'll put it on the internet?
I'd say it was probably like a marriage of both, right? Because what I was doing to learn a lot about business, I naturally found myself being attracted to a lot of these internet marketers. I've got to work directly with like Bill Glazier, Dan Kennedy. I've learned from people like Frank Kern. Like these are all like kind of heavy hitters in that internet marketing world. And I was using their principles, but using it in the kind of event space, the speaking space, the event production space. So then I had that skill set. And then with everyone asking me, it was like, well, kind of a no-brainer to just combine the two. But then, I think when I decided to do it, what became beautiful about it is if you do online marketing and online courses correctly, you can still do other things. There's some people just choose to do that and that's all they do. But the whole point of online marketing is to give yourself options so that you don't have to connect your time to creating revenue. And that was one of the things that probably a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about when they get into business is, are you creating a business where you are trading time for money? And that's what I do as a speaker, but I loved it so much I didn't care. But with everything that happened, having the skill set just built over time, it was for me, I don't want to say good timing because COVID's not good, but it just helped me accelerate things I've wanted to do that I didn't do because I was speaking.
So are the acceleration, are you now teaching people how to do speaking via like Zoom, things like that? Is it evolving into more of that? Or are you accelerating things that you were working on previously?
Yeah, so what it kind of looks like is what I'm doing now is taking that 5-year experience of launching my online course, marketing it, and then packaging that as a way to teach people to share what they care about. So how do you create your online course? So I have coaching clients that we work with virtually. So we do Zoom sessions. We have a private Facebook group so we can communicate daily. And then they have an online course they can go in and watch the modules of the training that I put together for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you were to give, so this is a very interesting topic. Who was it? Like Tony Robbins and
Dean Graziosi
are doing, how to basically launch an online course, right?
Yeah, the knowledge industry. So they've launched a thing on how to basically take your knowledge and leverage it into becoming a knowledge-based, business. Selling your knowledge.
Are you on the team of everyone has something that they can turn into a business and teach other people about, or are you on the side where it's like, you can't, your passion isn't always something you can monetize? We've heard both.
I think the way I would answer it is, can you solve a problem someone has with your online course, right? So if I'm passionate about something, but nobody wants to solve that problem, then it's a great hobby. It's a fantastic thing to, talk about, but it's not going to create a business. Ideally, the simplistic, there's two really easy ways to decide if your online course will make sense. The first is there a problem I'm solving? Is there a pain I can move someone away from? And then the second thing is, do people already have a desire for this that I can channel that desire to what I'm offering? So for example, I have a friend who teaches people how to do multifamily real estate. He's a very good friend of mine. He got into this a couple of years ago, created an online course. He's doing really well with it. Now, basically the desire that people have isn't, I want to own multifamily real estate. The desire is, I want to create wealth, and I want to create passive income, and I want to create generational wealth. So that desire is already there. And then he channels that desire to, well, have you thought about multifamily income and getting, multifamily rental properties? So you also want to think, do people have desires for whether it's health, relationship, wealth, fitness? There's certain desires that are just innate in us. And if someone already has it, you can then channel it to what you're offering. So if you can't answer those two questions, you might have a hobby, which is great, but it may not translate into a profitable online course. But if you can do those two things, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So I heard you mention, you said the word generational.
Yeah.
Can you think back to all the places that you've spoken and pick one where you feel your message made the biggest generational change to the audience?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what initially jumps into my head is, who are the clients that bring me back year after year? There are some clients that I get to work with, like literally there's a group out in Eastern Oklahoma that I've spoken to year after year, and I haven't worked with them for about 2 years, and they contacted me and said, hey, we need to do something to impact these students virtually. So that was like super, I love when people continue to work with me. There's two schools, colleges specifically, that probably paid me, I think, one of the biggest compliments. It was a school in New York City, college in New York City, and a college in just upstate New York. And they said that the years that I speak at their school, so for one school, it's been multiple years. For the other, it was 1 year. Their dropout rate decreases when I speak there. And the years that I don't speak, the dropout rates are higher. So for the one school, they said, we've never seen numbers like this. We haven't seen kids drop out. The only thing we did different is we brought you in this week. So that's like, okay,
that's cool. That's huge.
There's causation, there's correlation. So obviously you have to be very careful with what you say.
Sure.
But to see schools saying the one school, BMCC in New York City, said they noticed this as a pattern, that's like, that's awesome. That's like the greatest compliment. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Talk about the business of speaking, right? So that's, you are a speaker yourself. You are a trainer of speakers. What are some of the reasons people want to get into speaking? Is it because do you see it's more because they want to give back knowledge to the world? Is it because they're looking for another business opportunity? Is it spread the gamut? And then what would you say is the best reason to get into speaking?
Yeah, so it's funny. One of the reasons I spent years not wanting to create an online course for speakers, because the reality of it is I hate probably 95% of speakers that exist. There's just not many of them.
Full of themselves, kind of?
Yeah, because there is a large crop of people that go, when I speak, people listen to me, and I'm so motivating. So I must go out and do this great like, service to the world by speaking. And the reason that they're doing it is not necessarily from the place of service. They're doing it because they think they're great and the world must know how great they are. So because of that, I just never made lots of friends. There's probably, I can count on one, maybe two hands, how many friends I had that were speakers, because the large majority of them, I was just like, I don't vibe with them. Like, we're not gonna get along, because that's not what I was about. So I didn't want to do the course because I was like, I don't want to create more of those people. But, a friend of mine said, well, listen, if you do it the right way and teach people the right way, you can actually make a positive difference. So I was like, well, if I wanted to do that, what would I care about the most? And ultimately, it's that you're going there and you as a speaker, you're simply a tool. Like, you're literally just almost a mechanism to inspire change. If I go to a place and nobody remembers my name and nobody remembers my face, but they're like, this one guy came and he said this one thing and it changed the rest of my life, and I'm so grateful, and they're not giving me that power, they're assigning the power to themselves, then I feel like I did a really good job. But if it's all about, you got to remember my name and I got to be the best guy in the whole world, I think you can get very clouded, because this is the type of industry where people will come up to you afterwards and pat you on the back, tell you how great you are, and tell you how fantastic you are. And if you don't have the right grounding, you can turn into an egotistical jerk very quickly, very, very quickly. So if you're not grounded in my job is to enact change. I'm a conduit for making a difference. And whatever I say and whatever I do, it's not about me, it's about the people I'm helping. Then you will do very successful in it. But if it's about how great you are, and if you want to see how that works, go to most people's websites and they'll talk about, every time I speak, people love me and said that I'm the greatest speaker they've ever heard. So I decided to become a professional speaker to spread this message to more people. It's like, it's not about you. It's about the people. So get focused. Yeah.
So what are some of the, what are the best speakers that you've seen? What kind of traits do they have?
So the best speakers that I've seen, and I'd categorize Tony Robbins. I've been to his events in person, and his ability to understand human psychology, like his ability to understand what to say, how to push someone, and how to move back. Like, he understands his audience very well. And I think he rides the line very well of, like, what he calls masculine energy and also the feminine, right? So he's caring, he'll cry, he's not afraid of that, but you don't think he's a punk or a fool. So I think that the best speakers, the qualities that they have is that they have a deep yearning to understand how humans think. Because if I can walk into a room, I can understand very quickly, this room doesn't want to hear me right now. I've walked into tons of rooms where in the first 5 minutes, it was very obvious that no one in that room was excited about being there. So I now got to go, I can't just stick to my script. I got to figure out how to get these people to actually care, and then I can help them. So sometimes you got to go completely off script. But if you come in with, this is the only thing I'm going to say, I'm going to go X, Y, Z, and that's it, and you try to copy and paste that, you might run into a hostile audience and then bomb and then think you're not good and then quit at something you could be really good at, simply because you didn't take the time to understand how to read audiences, how to understand people, how to understand what enacts change. And 9 times out of 10, what people think enact change isn't actually what does. So you have to understand humans. And if you do that, you can be very, very good at this profession.
So I'm thinking of people like, so you mentioned Tony Robbins already. I'm thinking of Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm thinking of Rachel Hollis. I'm thinking of David Meltzer, who we have coming to our conference also. I'm thinking of some of these more modern, who's the other guy? Quest, nutrition guy.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, yep. Bill Yu.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at all these different people, right? And they all have sort of different presentations, right? So you have Tony Robbins, who clearly is just natural. Like, he doesn't script all of that stuff.
He was put on the earth to do that.
Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk doesn't script anything. Like, we know that firsthand. Then you have some other people. I don't know Rachel Hollis at all, but she's shown videos of her, like, early on, just like grinding away, talking to 2 people, and then she's talking to 10 people, and then she's talking to 20 people. So my question is, in your opinion, is speaking an art or a science?
Yeah, so I think every art is also a science, right? So if you look at a song, it's got chords, it's got choruses, it's got verses. So there's a structure that is similar. But the difference between a hit song and a song that your friend is trying to get you to listen to on SoundCloud that you don't really want to listen to is how they turn that science into an art. So I think that the best thing about speaking, the thing that I love, is that you take any of those speakers you mentioned, right? You take a Joel Osteen style of speaking, you take a Gandhi style of speaking, you take a President Obama style of speaking, right? They're all wildly different, but impactful in their own way. So the best way to look at it is there's not a mold of speaker that will make you successful. It's just you take your personality and you turn the volume up. That's it. If you can, I think the hardest thing for people to do is find out, who am I on stage? It's a weird thing because you could talk to someone off stage and they're so charismatic and so funny, and you put them up on a stage and they turn into some robot and you're like, who is that guy? Like, that's not who I spoke to. So getting someone to literally, it might take a couple of 100 presentations to discover, who am I in this medium? And then how do I turn the volume up and how do I turn it down when I need to? So I think ultimately, no matter who we are, whether we have a lisp, whether we have a stutter, that will not like exclude you from this art, but you have to be able to own the stage. You got to be able to turn the volume up, turn it down. And a lot of that is science. You can learn. There's a lot of things about where you stand, how you build a presentation. But that's it's the reason why, one person can make a hit song and another person, they just can't do it.
Yep. That's where the artist comes in.
So shifting gears a little bit, because part of what we're about, Arel, is bringing a little life to business. Now, I know you've got young children. Is it 2 girls or?
2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah.
And being at the age that they're at and having spoken to the age group that you have for so long in your career, how has that impacted how you're choosing to raise your own children? Yeah,
I mean, the beauty of having my own children is there are a lot of things that I just simply can't do out in a speaking engagement. Like, I would love to spend time with a kid 24/7, right? But if I go out to an event and I speak at a business, and I can't stay with their employees 24/7. If I go speak at a college, I can't stay with those students 24/7. But my kids, I have the ability to, be with them. So hopefully the beauty of it is, which is the funny part that a lot of speakers, it's kind of weird. So I'll explain what I mean by it. So a lot of speakers, they get like 60 minutes on stage and they're literally the best version of themselves for 60 minutes. So you go into that audience and everyone's like, like someone sees Gary Vee speak and they're like, oh my gosh, Gary Vee blew my mind. This was amazing. Because literally you're seeing him at his apex, at his best within that context. But at home, his kids see him fart. His kids see him pick his nose. His kids see him like with his pants at his ankles because there's no toilet paper in the bathroom and he's got to waddle out and go get it. Like, he's the human version that we all are. So what's beautiful about having the methodology, at least in the mindset that, individuals like he has, and I'd like to say like myself, is that you say, when I'm home, I can't turn off. My mentor told me that a lot of people give the world Superman, but then they give their family Clark Kent, right? So they turn on when it comes for work, and they're this almost like mythological creature. When they come home, they turn off. So they, and I did that for years, and I didn't realize, like, my girlfriend, now wife, at the time got upset because she was like, I see you out there laughing, giggling, talking to people when you come home. Are you unhappy? And it's like, no, like, what are you talking about? You're the best thing that ever happened to me. But I realized I was giving the world the best version of myself, and then coming home and giving my crumbs to my family. So you got to turn it on and be like, I got to be Superman in both places, because I can't be that for these people and not my family. And I think a lot of people miss that. So it's a beautiful plateau to get on and say, I'm Superman 24/7. And it's not easy, but if it was easy, everybody would do it.
So that, and you led into what my next question was, and that is, when you're speaking to so many people and you have this desire, tugging at your heart that you want to spend that time with somebody one-on-one, have you figured out how to make that happen, in whether that's another vertical in your business, or because you've got to like have people that just come up to you when you're speaking and you're like, oh my gosh, I just wish I could spend, a day with you, or take that big group and shrink it down how do you work through that emotionally?
Yeah, so it's fascinating. So this is the reality of it. I have two things. One, I will stay after, like, I'll keynote for an hour, but I might be there for 6 hours. I might be there for 7 hours afterwards, because literally I made a decision. I won't leave until everyone gets their questions answered. Like, if they're going to wait long enough to talk to me, I'm going to wait long enough to answer their questions. So when I have speaking engagements, I typically don't book my flights the same day, because I want to be as best of service. But this is where it gets fascinating. You can easily weed out the large majority of humans who really, because I can't make someone care. So what I always say is, I give them my email. I say, this is my email. You got any questions, you reach out to me. I have a handful of people who've stayed in touch with me, and I've done everything for them. Like, any question they have, I'm happy to ask. Like, I'm sure, but you guys be planning this incredible conference you're planning. I'm sure people come up to you and go, oh my gosh, could you show me how you do it? And you go, sure, here's my email, reach out. And then they don't reach out. So the funniest thing is, the easiest way to, like, weed out people who are, like, want it but don't really want it is to just give them a task to do. And the task can be simply reach out to me. Now, people will send one email. Don't get me wrong. There are people who will send one email. But there's a large percentage of humans, they won't follow up or they won't care enough. So as funny as it is, I feel like I've never been more accessible, like, ever. But, there's only a small percentage of people who reach out. So, I've always felt like if you really want something, I'll email you and you won't respond, then I'm going to email you again. I'm going to email you until you tell me leave you alone or you answer my question. But the majority of people don't act like that. They don't think like that. So if I think someone listening, if you really genuinely want to connect with someone, don't I sent one email, they didn't respond. Well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Like, no, like, until they say, if they say leave you alone, leave them alone, because then you're a creeper if you don't. If not, most people will be like, yo, thank you so much. Like, I've been busy. Like, I couldn't drop everything and answer your email when you sent it because I was busy. But the fact that you followed up, I'll do whatever you need. I'll break my back for you. Like, I'll give you anything you want. So it's kind of just self-selection, honestly.
Why do you feel so many people are like that? Because you're 100% right. And I see it all the time.
Yep.
The follow-up is the thing. I know personally people who've purchased 10 online courses and not done anything with them. I see a lot of people who, I used to do some entrepreneurship counseling, and they'd come in, they'd be all energetic, they're writing notes down on their paper, and nothing after that. Similar to what you said, they don't follow up with any emails, they don't answer the emails when I would follow up. Why is that? It's probably different for everybody, but what are some of the common reasons people don't follow up with actions after you do a talk, whether it's to students or to a business or whatever, or if they go watch Gary Vaynerchuk, or if they watch a motivational video? What are some of those reasons people can't get over themselves, I guess?
People, I think, fall into two fatal flaws. And this isn't research. This is my just observations of humans. The first is they hate to have other people know that they don't know something. I would rather die than I don't know something. That's how people operate. You know what? I have no idea how to do that. But for me to admit that I don't know how to do that would hurt my ego so much. I would rather literally play below my means for the rest of my life than to just expose this vulnerability. And if you trace this back, I mean, think about your school for a moment. How many times were we in a classroom and we didn't know what was going on? And we could have simply raised our hand and asked the question, but we were like, well, if I don't ask a question, then people won't know if I'm smart or know if I'm stupid. And I can be either one. So I would rather be either smart or stupid than to raise my hand and prove someone to be right. So I think that ego gets in the way. I think that desire that, everyone else seems like they know what they're doing. Like the funny thing is, right? Like, people will look at other people and instantly point out why they're so amazing. Oh, look at you guys. You got your empathy wine, and you got Gary V, and you got this podcast. You guys got it all figured out. But if you're like a normal human, you're like, we're
I'm
just
sorry, I couldn't keep a straight face with that.
we're just rolling with it, man.
Yeah,
we're just swinging the bat, you know, and you know, we're gonna connect with the ball a few times, right? And I saw the video that you guys put out when you got, I think, your title sponsor, right? And you were like super excited about it, right? And it's like, yo, you're swinging the bat. Yeah. That's why you're getting results. Yep. But I'm sure you're going to the meeting like, I got no idea what's going to happen. Like,
accurate.
I don't know.
100% accurate. Like,
yeah. And you mentioned about the emails, like, you know, following up and they don't answer. I mean, that's how we got Gary. We literally DM'd him for a week straight until we got an answer. And then we negotiated, you know, our wine deal with him until we got a number. Like, you know, to all the viewers or listeners out there, what Arel's talking about is 100% accurate. Like, we didn't have all of this. Like, we didn't have a connection to Gary, and that's the reason why all of this is happening. Like, we made it. Or, like, we just kept going until we got a no. Thankfully, we didn't get a no.
And everyone thinks, oh, you guys are just smart. Now, I don't say everyone. Lots of people who won't achieve their goals will go, well, you guys are lucky. You're smart. You're cool. Of course he was going to say yes. So they're going to look at all the reasons why you got the yes. But then on the back end, everyone's going, do you know how much I don't know? And do you know how much I'm just trying to figure it all out? But because I get these 1 or 2 wins, and this is like, I mean, if people really want to like understand how to yield power, if you really, really want to yield power, you just know that the large majority of humans will observe 1 or 2 wins as if that's the majority of your life. So if you just act as if those 1 or 2 wins are indeed the majority of your life, enough people will believe you that is the majority of your life. And then you become a trusted figure and you're walking around the whole time like, I genuinely am still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I know that you have this insecurity and I'm trying to make it happen. So I'm going to like plant my feet and be the most confident person. And then the funny thing happens is if you plant your feet long enough, you start actually learning something.
Right.
But most people, I think, aren't willing to plant their feet in that feeling of unknowing. So that's why they don't finish the courses, because they don't want to reach out and say, in module 3, you said this, but I don't know what you're talking about. Could you please break it down? And then the creator would go, of course. This is the why I created it, was to help people. Not for you to go, well, I'm just going to disappear because to admit that I don't know what I'm doing or it's taking too much time hurts my ego too much. So if you get over that, I mean, you can do it. I mean, honestly, like if we really get possible to how, like literally people running states, the largest businesses you've ever seen, walk around with this insecurity, like I really don't know exactly what I'm doing. Just enough people have trusted me and I just got to keep going and I'm going to figure it out somehow.
When you're speaking to people and you recognize this quality or potential quality in them where they've got all the feelings, they've got all the feels, but they can't act. They've got the feelings, they're hyped, they're ready to go. How do you get people to cross over from, man, I feel this, to like, you're going to jump in head first and you're not going to know anything? Like, how do you get them to make that jump? Because that's the biggest jump.
I've thought about that one question more times than I could think of. And the truth is I haven't come to an answer that I love yet. I think that ultimately there are things a mentor can do. A mentor can show you the way. A book can show you the way. A podcast can show you the way. But you got to just be willing to, step up to the plate and see that 95-mile-per-hour fastball whiz by you and feel the fear of like that came by way faster than I thought. But they were telling me that, keep your eye on the ball and, square your feet and, transfer your hip rate or whatever, right? Like I can tell you all that, but you have to just decide that the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of trying something new. Like we all have different parts that will move us. But if the pain of me staying the same is not more unbearable than the pain of changing, I will choose to stay the same. So the funny thing is, I've actually thought about this and thought, the greatest thing that we can actually run towards are our pains, our insecurities, like run full force into them. Because if you run into your pain, you will get so uncomfortable and unhappy with your current state of being that you have to do something to change it. But if I get think about it. How many people, when they pull to a red light, right? And I'm guilty. I've done this too. You pull to a red light. You don't chill and think. You pull out your phone because you're like, I got 15 seconds to check Instagram, right? Like, I can literally fill my time with food, alcohol, Netflix, drugs, unlimited TVs, videos, NBA highlights, right? Whatever is my thing, I can fill my space so that my current existence doesn't feel so bad. Mm-hmm. But if I can really get present to how bad I feel, then I go, I can't stay here. I got to do something. But if you don't do that, you're going to stay, the scariest thing for me is waking up in 10 years and being like, damn, I'm just 10 years older, but nothing in my life is different.
Nothing's sitting on, nothing's changed.
But that drives me. For other people, they don't want to embrace that pain, and they'll stay the same, and they'll be 10 years older and just 10 years older.
Yeah, and that must be hard for you as a motivator and a speaker and someone who's really trying to change lives. I mean, I had an example the other day. I have a good friend who, they're just in a very bad place, and they have been there for years. And, I can tell them all these things, but I said, like, listen, you gotta deep dive. You gotta like deep dive into the Tony Robbins stuff, into the spiritual stuff, you have to like plunge into those things whether you want to or not, because it's the only way out of this feeling that you're in. And she was like, no, I think they're frauds. and something happened in me where I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, you're right, or whatever. And then that really, soured me, because I was like, listen, like, go do your thing, but you're not going to drag me down. I cannot help you. Like, you can't be helped. But you as a true leader and speaker, like, how do you deal with those people where they're like, you can tell, like, there's no helping them. They're going to go by the wayside.
So there's a philosophical approach to it, and there's a practical approach, which is a little more difficult. The philosophical approach is that we're responsible to people, but not for people, right? So I'm responsible to listen. I'm responsible to give advice when asked. Because if someone doesn't ask you for advice, then all they're really looking for is empathy, which is hard for us as people who want to solve problems. Be like, I know what your problem is. Here's the solution.
I know.
But some people just need to.
Right. They just want to. Yeah.
They just need empathy or a glass of empathy wine.
Right.
One of the two, right?
Right. Both.
And then the practical approach is, and this is that deep inner work. And I'm a big, just huge advocate of this deep personal work because it's so interesting. There is a script that's running in their brain. There's like a program that says that this is the way the world is. And for most people, it's running just in the background. It just exists there. And they don't even know. It's like if I were to give you green tinted glasses and you wore them and you only wore green tinted glasses, you would think the whole world looked the way you saw it, because how could you see it any differently? So if you looked at the color yellow, it's going to be a very different color with green tinted lenses than someone who didn't. So if you can actually practically get down to what are the scripts they're actually running, what are the ways that they see the world, then discover where those came from. Many times when people will be like, oh, snap. And the funny part is most of these decisions on how the world works, we created them when we were kids, like 7 years old, 8 years old, 13 years old. Like when we were kids, we created it to survive that moment in time that we needed to survive. And then we created this belief that this is the way the world works. But as an adult, you go, oh, snap, an 8-year-old came up with this script, right? So your friend, and I know nothing about her, so I can't say this is it at all, but what if she came up with a script that says, like, well, what if, like, during really a tough time, someone told her, well, you're just not as good as everyone else, so don't try. So at 8 years old, she heard this and then started running this script that said, no matter how hard I try, I'm not good enough. I don't know if that's true, of course, but if she's running that might play out in all areas of her life, that good enough problem. So ultimately, if you can actually get to the genesis of that script, you actually have the ability to potentially rewrite it. And you can see amazing work when you do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my world is in more of the digital marketing, online marketing world outside of No Bull. So I'm super interested to just kind of hear your thoughts. You mentioned earlier how you were sort of skeptical about speakers for a little bit because you noticed some trends and some traits and things like that. I admittingly have been skeptical about the online marketing world and sort of that blend of professional speaker to online marketing, because I have seen some that are training you how to leverage it just to make money, right? So there's always this piece of me that's like, well, they're just trying to game the system. So they'll find the hook, they'll do the splash page, the landing page, the sales page, whatever you want to call it. It'll be super long all along the way. They'll have their tactics, which, by the way, tactics are great. I understand them, and systems are great. But I have a hard time getting over seeing a lot of online marketing courses to realize that at the end of that, I'm going to actually have the value that's worth the $200 that I bought in with and the $1,200 that I pay for the premium version of it, right? Mm-hmm. And I understand why they're doing it, but in my mind, I always go through, how do I know that they're the real deal? They're in it to give value, like you're talking about, or they're in it to make $1 million and to drive their Lamborghini and to travel around the world with my money. And
you're really sensitive to the people that actually built businesses from the ground up, and they went through all of this, what you're talking about, and the people that are just teach people how to build businesses.
Yeah. Like you see Snapchat, Instagram, it happened crazy on Instagram, YouTube. You'll see these, and I have a hard time. I'm admitting, like, I have a hard time. Maybe they have, but I've seen the 22-year-old, white dude that's on there sitting on his Lamborghini saying, do you want to make money like me? Like, right? So I have a super hard time with the fact that they're attracting so many young people who want that. And so they'll buy their courses, and then those people will then sell a course on how to...
Amazon FBA.
Amazon FBA, that's a big one, right? So anyways, it's a long way around to how... talk about the differences. How does somebody sniff out these the people who have real intentions to build a business, right? Make money for their family, of course. But how do you find the ones that are truly valuable and are in it to give back to the world while building some financial freedom for their family versus the ones that are only about
they'll take your money.
Yeah.
Well, so it's interesting. There's a lot of people that do what some people might call D-bag marketing, right? Like what you said, I'm on my Lambo and I'm throwing money in the air, right? And the thing is, there's a very small percentage of those people that their heart is actually in the right place for why they're doing it. It's fascinating. Now, I can't speak towards their hearts because I don't know them, right? But the large majority of people, I think, if you look at their marketing and it gives you the heebie-jeebies at all, you got to trust your gut a little bit, right? Because all the people who I've learned from, who I've really, really been like, you know what, let me give this person a shot. Let me, open up my wallet. Let me spend this money. Let me spend my time and go through their program. I typically have asked myself, they fall into two categories, right? Not so much more now, but in the past it was, I don't like them. I don't like anything about them, but I want to know what they know. So let me just, skim off the good and reject the bad. And then ultimately what I found now is the second group is, if this person is someone who I genuinely want to be like if I could emulate who they are, I would be good with that, then that's a good person to learn from. Because what happens is that person who's on the Lambo, and we all know that, I should say we all know that, but the methodology is spend $500 to rent the Lambo, right? Take out a bunch of money in 20s, do that, and sell the course on teaching people how to do internet marketing until you can actually buy it yourself from the money you made teaching people how to do internet marketing, which you learned from a course on teaching internet marketing. So, one is trust your gut. And then two, it's also, and this is a personal thing. I don't know if this works for everyone else, but I want to know the person I'm learning from did the thing they're teaching me in a different arena outside of just teaching me, right? So if someone is an internet marketing genius because they've taught just internet marketing, you can start going, maybe all they know is the internet marketing, which is fine if all I want to teach is internet marketing, but it becomes very incestuous. So it's like, were they able to do that outside in some other business, and then they're applying those principles that they learned inside. So I think you trust your gut. If someone gives you the heebie-jeebies, I've almost always found when I pay for someone who I don't like them as a person, but I just want to learn what they know, I usually get disappointed. And I'm like, this wasn't as, the sales copy was really good. But if they're also living a lifestyle that I don't want to emulate, like I don't want to sit on a Lamborghini and throw money in people's faces, you know, I don't want to do that. I just don't. But if there's somebody who, you know, it generally seems like they have a good family life, they generally seem balanced, they generally do things that seem good, they don't seem kind of snake oily, I'll take that into consideration. But for most people, that, you know, 18 to 25-year-old single male, they got a lot of money they're willing to drop to be able to be that guy that has the Lambo. So they just, you know, there's a whole bunch of them. They're not going to go away. And they're going to spend a lot of money, and most of them won't make it. I think, I don't know, like 3% of people who buy courses go through them. Like, it's a really low number.
Yeah.
So you just kind of, you kind of go, if I were to be this person, would I be okay with that? And, you know, you kind of might use that as your North Star.
I think the checking the box has a lot to do with why people maybe buy the courses, but then don't follow through, right? Maybe they feel like the course is the step that they need to take. And then after that, everything will happen. And then at the end, they realize, oh, shit, I have to actually do work after I take the course. And that becomes hard, or things get in the way. I mean, I know I've seen that. I've even felt that before. Like I've taken 2 online courses that were actually like paid investment into them. You know, the first one was just because I wanted to see what it was all about. I was in the digital marketing space, right? So we do marketing for companies, but it's a lot of the same practices as online marketing. So the first one was I wanted to see. The second one was actually I wanted some of my employees to learn how to do these performance videos, like you've seen, like Purple Mattresses and Dollar Shave Club and Poopery and some of these more modern, funny infomercials. They're actually like generate millions and millions of dollars for companies, and it's a science. So the second one, we bought that as an agency. But both the first one was more like what you were saying, where I was like, I don't really feel great about this, but I want to learn the science of online marketing. And sure enough, at the end, very much felt how you felt, which it was just teaching me how to teach other people how to do online marketing. So, which maybe is where that feeling you mentioned that I have comes from, of like making sure people actually build something.
Yeah. From day one, when we first started this conference, you were very, very adamant about like, they have to, there's no bias. They have to have built something from the ground up and like be able to show those battle wounds. And it's probably, you know, because of that. I find it interesting, and I'm right now I'm sort of pivoting as an entertainer and person in the entertainment industry, and we're obviously struggling right now. So I'm pivoting, and I'm really looking into like the stock market and advancing my knowledge there and real estate, and trying to take some of the things that I have very basic knowledge of and amp it up. So I'm in this position right now where I'm looking at all sorts of courses and all sorts of things. And right now I'm kind of on the fence. I'd love to know what you think about this. Is instead of buying the course, or instead of buying whatever it is, and then they upsell you on the next, and then the 90 days is up, and it's like, well, what about the next 90 days? You know, instead of that, I'm contemplating actually just going to, whether it's a broker or a real estate professional here, and just saying like, I want to work under you for free, X amount, like doing that instead of buying the courses and trying to like self-educate without really. I just think there's way more value to that if you can sacrifice the time. What do you think about that? Coursework or just approaching somebody?
You know, I think the biggest thing is just choosing someone who is actually successful in doing it, right? Because there's tons of people who are real estate professionals. It doesn't mean they're successful as real estate professionals. Right. But if you can learn from them, like I was interested in real estate. Literally, I was going to buy my first investment property this year. And then it was literally right around February where I was looking at it. And then I didn't, because I was like, let me see how this world turns itself out, right? But my landlord, who from like 5 years ago, I stayed in touch with him. Great guy, owns tons of properties. And he's like, man, if you ever want real estate, let me know. So I hit him up and I was like, I actually now am very interested in that. So he would take me out and say, this is why I don't like this neighborhood. This is what I look for. So literally having him in the field and having him show me, he was super generous because he did it, you know, just for mentorship's sake, no financial compensation. I just felt like I caught this incredible knowledge because I could ask the questions I actually wanted to ask versus a particular prescribed method. So I think if you can go out and do that, it's fantastic. I would also say that going out and doing it and then finding a course that you like would probably allow you to understand it more, right? So like if you work with a real estate salesperson or a broker or developer or sales or whatever, and you were in the world with them and then you took the course, you're gonna be like, that's what that is. Bingo. Because what happens is so much of us, we learn things from a position where it's like, I've got no frame of reference for what I'm about to learn. It's a harder learning curve because ultimately me telling you how to deal with rejection and then dealing with rejection are two very different skill sets. You know? Yeah. So if you can be practical and do it, I think you'd get a ton out of it. I would give your time. I think early in my career, my mentor said, you first work to learn so you can work to earn. And I've just always said that's true. Like I'd happily, for something I want to learn, give my time and do something. I'd sweep, like at this point in my career, I'd go into someone's shop and sweep it if they'd open up the curtain and let me learn, because I know that I can take that and turn it into
100%.
All right, I got one more final question before we wrap up here.
Yes.
So the thesis behind our entire brand is bringing life to business, right? So there's tons of organizations out there, media companies that talk about all the business side of things. But we wanted to kind of balance out the life side of things. So can you share with Buzz Nation, our audience, one kind of moment in your life that you feel was, we'll call it the tipping point or tipping thing that allowed you to build what you have now? And then one moment of failure or one down moment that humbled you to be the person you are today.
Well, the most motivating thing that ever happened to me was the birth of that guy right there, my first son. I don't know if you have children. I don't know if people listening have children, but if you're in the right headspace, having a child has been the most motivating factor in the entire world for me because I could live off of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like I'm built like that. I could live in a cardboard box with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and I'd be fine. But when my son was born, I was like, yo, I can't fail now because I literally have a helpless, defenseless human who is totally 100% reliant upon me. Because even like my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, I've dated her for like a long time, since 2002. I was like, I love her, but if anything ever goes bad, she could leave me and she'd be fine, right? Like this is how my mind would think. But my kid, he's solely dependent upon me doing well. So what happened is there was a really powerful moment where it was probably the fourth day we had him home from the hospital. And I was holding him in my arms. And, at that age, they don't really do much. They're just there, right? And I was just looking at him and I started getting really emotional because I was thinking about everything I'd want him to achieve. Right? I started thinking about what kind of life I'd want him to have, what kind of adult I'd want him to be, all of the things I'd want him to have in this world. And then this reality hit me, which was a really hard pill to swallow, is I then had to ask myself, everything I'm wishing for him, how much am I checking the boxes on all those categories fully? And I was like, am I doing projects that I'm not really excited about? Am I doing things that I feel like I'm doing just for money and not for impact? And holy crap, like, I don't want to be a fraud. I don't want to expect something of my son I wouldn't expect of myself. So when I made the decision that I would never, ever expect something of him that I wouldn't expect of myself, it became, well, it's very clear I want him to have the best life possible. So then, okay, I got to step up my game. So for me, the tipping point was that realization that I had this little human that not only was dependent upon me, but will observe everything I do. Everything. So I can't tell him, go after your dreams and believe in yourself, if I'm saying, well, I'm stuck in this particular thing. And even though it's a business that I built, no one ever talks about the golden handcuffs of the business that you built and you feel like you can't get out.
Yeah.
You don't love it like you once loved it. And people can't understand that because that's a real thing. So I had to, that was a big tipping point to make change. And then in the second question was it failure? Was that it?
Yeah, failure or down moment in your life. Like for me, like it wasn't even a down moment because I had a great, but I'll just give you an example. Like I moved back in with my parents as an adult in order to make my current business, which is great and thriving now, survive, right? So I had to stop being a self-sufficient adult to be able to do that, right? So I don't even know if I tell that story very often. But
yeah,
like,
I mean, there was a period of time where I was this is one of the things that's weird about entrepreneurship is that a lot of businesses, and if they do, like, God bless people with recurring revenue models. I think those people who've got people paying them every month so they can like predict revenue, that's the best business model, right? But like, I wasn't in that. I was in the business model, just like, yo, I gotta, like, if I don't hunt, I don't eat, you know?
That's right.
So I was living in a really, like, just not great neighborhood because it was low rent. And I always thought, well, you know, if the crap hits the fan, I know I can afford a place to live. I won't be homeless, right? Yeah. So the thing was happening is, this was during the period of time where I won Inc. magazine's 30 Under 30, right? Like, I was on this, like, I felt like a total fraud because I'm like, everyone out here is so much more successful than me because I'm living in this crappy ass apartment because I'm afraid that, like, even though things have been going okay and I've been going, what if they don't? What if, that's the fear, what if it just all dries up and I got nothing? And then what happened is I started believing that so much that it didn't matter how much revenue we made. It didn't matter because my fear was always, well, we're going to lose it all. We're going to lose it all. So to be someone who's supposed to be like the model of young success, living in an apartment, living in a neighborhood that I didn't feel safe in, felt like just, you know, and I was driving a 96 Camry with like 150,000 miles on it. Yeah. So I felt like my external world in my private space didn't match the external world that the public would have expected of me. So to swallow that and to live in that for years. But then I got to a point where it was like, again, the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of changing. It's like, I was afraid people, like this one time, this is weird. I know we're going over on time, but bear with me here. There was this time I spoke at a school locally, and I was walking my dog, and this dude pulls up in his car and goes, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "What? What do you mean? What am I doing here?" Like, it was like a young kid, and he was like, "You're the speaker. You came and spoke in my school. What you doing in this neighborhood?" And I was like, "Nothing." Walking the dog. I didn't know how to explain.
Market research.
Just call. Yeah, like he just called me out, right? And then I was like, "All right, man, take care." And he sped off. And then I was like, you know what? I can't keep living afraid of losing everything. Like, I lived my whole life like I'm afraid I'm going to lose everything. Like, I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, so like I know like what that world is like. I was like, I don't want to go back there. So I had to like get pulled out of it, but I wouldn't have done it myself. I would have stayed in that fearful state much longer than I should have, because the pain of staying the same wasn't greater than the pain of change. But when I saw that one kid who I don't even remember his name, and he probably doesn't remember it happened either, it was like the greatest catalyst, because I was like, I don't want this to happen again, and I got to make a move. So you double down and you make certain decisions, and they're scary as hell. But you know, to be living in places where I feel like, you know, people are like, "What the hell are you doing here?" I was like, I can't do this no more.
I love it.
True.
Yeah.
Arel, man, you've been a wealth of knowledge and inspiration to us and Buzz Nation. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and busy life to spend with us. Before we leave, we want to give you a quick little cheers. So, man, cheers to life and business.
My man.
May you prosper in both.
L'chaim, thank you.
As always, we are super appreciative to everyone who watches and listens. Don't forget, you can watch these episodes on Facebook and YouTube in full, and you can listen to them on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you love to consume your favorite content. Thank you so much for consuming. As always, we love you. Cheers to life and business. May you prosper in both.